Welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago. We are live on CTV and Talk City 91.1 FM, streaming live on ctvtt.com. Feel free to drop us a line on our various social media platforms, including our CTV app. Well, today we will be chatting with Mr. Victor Prescod of the Trinidad and Tobago. He's actually the chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago Music Festival, and they are celebrating 70 years. Congratulations
70
and
years
welcome.
Of the music festival.
Yes, a lot
But
to talk
actually
about.
77 years of the association. Yes.
So how has this journey been for you personally?
Personally, it's been quite interesting. I first took part in music festival, let's just say more than 40 years ago. Right? And as a competitor, first and foremost, and then having returned from university, I was classified as a professional because I have a degree in music. So I can only take part as a conductor of a choir and that sort of thing. So as a teacher in school, I used to take my students to the festival, had my choir that took part in the festival, and eventually I'm now the chairman of the association. So that's not something I considered more than 40 years ago, but here I am.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
A lot of big names came out of the music festival. Who are some of those names?
Well, anybody who's anybody in music has taken part in the music festival, basically. We have the Hello Man, Kester Fintala, who actually won the 16 to 19 category as a student. We have Edward Cumberbatch, who's one of the best known tenors. Marshall Montano has taken part as a student. We have people like Raymond Edwards, Richard Peer, who actually hosted several TV shows with the late Hazel Ward. As I said, almost anybody, practically all of the musicians in the National Philharmonic Orchestra, as well as the National Steel Symphony Orchestra, have passed through the festival. Dr. Roger Henry, who's head of the NPO. Mr. Jessel Murray, who is the head of the Department of Creative and Festival Arts at UA.
Yes, he was here actually this week.
Right, so just about anybody, as well as some of our politicians, the
CEOs.
CEOs, you know. The current Minister of Culture herself was a contestant in the festival many years ago. And I found it interesting. I saw that her daughter took part this week. I actually saw today's newspaper as one of the participants from Bishop Anstey High School. So the tradition continues.
Yes, indeed. Has there been any one individual or any, probably a handful? How many people have actually made it through from the inception?
Well, we do have one person who has competed in every single music festival since the first one in 1948, Mr. Arnold Ransom, incidentally of Hyderabad, who I think will be taking part this year as well. I know he's signed up to take part. He was telling me last month that he wasn't feeling too well, so I hope that he actually makes it. One of our vocal coaches who's still around and training a lot of people, June Nathaniel, was actually part of the first festival. She was a winner back then. There may be a few others that I'm not quite aware who are still around, but we've also had past political persons. Carl Hudson Phillips was one of our first winners in 1948. Hector McLean, the late Hector McLean as well, also participated back in 1948. So over the years, as I said, we've had from the ordinary man in the street to the businessmen, the politicians, and the musicians. It's not only for musicians.
Well, it brings me to my next question. Is it only open to professional musicians or amateurs?
Actually, as I said, once you're professional, and professional we define as someone who has a degree or diploma in music, or someone who earns their living primarily from music, those persons are restricted. There are one or two classes where one professional is allowed, and only one. But the festival is mainly for amateur musicians. Okay.
What is significantly different about this year's festival?
Well, we've introduced a couple of new classes this year, in an effort to broaden the appeal of the festival as well as to appeal to our young people. We've introduced some drumming classes, so we have tacit drumming, which is wowing our judges, as well as African drumming. And we also have a category for world music, and we've introduced a category for our young composers, since as part of the CSEC music examination, they have to compose. So we have compositions for the youth as well as an open composition class for composers.
What has been the response so far with these new categories?
Quite good. Oh, I forgot to mention, we've also introduced a Rapso class for the young people.
Rapso.
Yes. that was one that hasn't quite taken off, but we've had some entries.
Okay.
And the drumming classes particularly have had really good entries, and we're looking forward to even more, because the drumming is not only at the junior level, it's also at the senior level. And as I said, our adjudicators, who are our international adjudicators, are from England and Scotland, and they've both been wowed by the quality of the drumming, as well as our steel pan playing. And many people don't know that steel pan has been in the music festival since 1952. And the Steel Band Music Festival actually grew out of the National Music Festival.
Wow, that's something to note. What are the age groups, the categories?
Well, in the junior classes, we start at 8. Well, the junior solo classes start at 8, so there's 8 to 10. And we go up to 19 for the junior classes. There are persons younger than 8 who possibly can take part in the duet and choirs and so on, because we have 12 and under and that sort of thing. And then the open classes are just as it is, open. Mm-hmm. So we have from, as they say, up to 99, basically. So that anyone can take part in the festival. As I said, it's for amateur musicians, and we've really had a very high standard of musicianship throughout the many years of the festival.
So it's both instruments and you have choirs?
Yes, instruments, voice and, well, we have the choirs, we have the steel pan ensembles, we have string ensembles, we have brass, you name it, we have it.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the
challenges? Which makes it quite, as your boss said, makes it quite difficult to manage the festival with that number of classes. Yeah. And we try to examine some of the ways. For example, this festival, we've had a couple nights that have gone particularly long, and we're trying to see how best we can try to make a session not more than 3 hours. Mm-hmm. Another challenge, as is always a challenge, and especially in these times, finance. We are struggling to raise money. I must thank our sponsors, our main sponsors, Scotiabank Foundation and Methanol Holdings, Trinidad Limited, who've been really, really very good to us. And Scotiabank has helped tremendously in the advertising of the festival. And that brings me to another challenge, audiences, right? There are some classes that always attract an audience, but generally speaking, especially for the junior classes, we have poor attendance, and we really like to see more children coming out. The schools is sending children to support their students when their school is performing, as well as we know the mummies and daddies probably have to go to work, but the grandparents, the retired folk who may be looking for something to do. You know, the festival is held in 3 regions, which is North, South, and Tobago. Okay. The Tobago leg has already finished. That concluded last week, Thursday. The North leg at Queen's Hall is concluding tomorrow, and South at Napier Bowl is continuing until next week, Thursday, the 8th. And then we move on to the championships, where the winners in each region then compete to be crowned the national champion. So the championships begin on March 9th, the 9th and 10th at Queen's Hall, the 12th and 13th down at Napier Bowl, and the 14th back at Queen's Hall. And then we conclude with a junior finale on Friday 16th at Queen's Hall, and our grand closing program on Saturday 17th, also at Queen's Hall. That's at 5 p.m.
All right. We spoke a little bit about the response it has been receiving and some of the challenges that you faced. Right. As a music teacher, what would you like to say to parents who think that this is taking away from their academics?
Well, I have been a music teacher for several years. I'm retired now. Then I was the curriculum officer for music. I served as the project coordinator for the band and classroom program in Ministry of Education. And one of my particular areas of interest is what is called brain-based or brain-compatible learning. Mm-hmm. That is designing learning, how the brain is designed to learn. Yes. One of the findings of brain-based learning is that music is critically important for students, especially in the first 6 years of life. They tell you that there are 3 areas that children should be exposed to increase the rate of connectivity in the brain. Right? Those three areas are physical education or sport, movement education, language education, learning a foreign language, and music. Not just the arts, but music in particular increases the rate at which connections are made in the brain. And then all of the research continues to tell you that the earlier you expose a child to music, the better they do in all areas.
Is it in terms of listening to music or actually playing an instrument or singing, perhaps?
All of the above.
Okay, wow.
Right, and especially when it comes to learning to read music. Now, there's an area of the brain that connects both halves of the brain called the corpus callosum. And it has been proven through research and through observing the brain in action that the corpus callosum in a trained musician is thicker than in a non-musician. The reasoning for this is, as you know, the left half of the brain does all of the technical things, the processing of information, mathematical sorts of stuff, while the right half is the pleasure center and the where you process the areas that you just generally enjoyment of things. Non-musicians process music on the right half of the brain. Musicians process music on both halves simultaneously, because you're thinking through the technical things of music, right? And you're analyzing chords and chord structure and melody and harmony and all sorts of things. That's happening in the left half, while the right half is just appreciating the beauty of the music. And both of those things are happening simultaneously. So there's interhemispheric connectivity going on in the brain as a trained musician listens to music, whereas the non-musician just uses the right half. So that you find, again, learning to play a musical instrument, learning to read music, learning to sing, all of these things. We talk in education about whole brain learning. Yeah. Music is the ideal activity to encourage whole brain learning.
You got me so interested, and they're telling me that our time is up. But my last question, though, is it too late for people like me who never had any sort of exposure to, would it have that sort of impact on my brain?
Well, one of the things that brain-based education also tells you is, as they say, you're never too old to learn. Yeah. It just takes more time. But
there is hope.
There is hope. So all of these persons who haven't started as yet, get started. And if you try to ward off Alzheimer's and dementia, these sorts of things, exposure to music education certainly helps.
Mr. Prescod, thank you so much for coming on our show this morning. Definitely
a pleasure chatting with you. And we hope to see you as well as members of the audience in our shows. You can also get more information at our website, ttmusicfestival.org, or if you're on Facebook, just search for TT Music Festival. We have lots of updates on what's happening at the festival.
Certainly. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.